Hi guys, it's Kate. I survived my last journal entry. Today is Friday, and I survived another day. I'm sorry if I sound a bit nasally and sniff a lot. The weather here has been awful. This week, for 2 days, it snowed, and then it rained all day. And today it's 70 degrees, and I have like a coat and sweater on, and I feel like I look like a fool, but how can you prepare for that? I mean, I guess I could look at the weather, but I I didn't. I get my weather through elevator talk and small talk. People think you shouldn't talk about the weather, but that's how I find out what I'm wearing tomorrow. So maybe I'm part of the problem. Maybe I just work in an office and my life is so boring. That's how I feel. Not sure. But today there is one story that I have really not told anyone in my life. Told my therapist a little bit, and that was like very difficult. So I figured part of trying to learn how to be honest with myself and keep a truthful journal is talking about some of my past experiences and kind of what I've been through. And this particular story was about how I was, let's say, technically kidnapped. It didn't feel like being kidnapped at the time until I had explained it, and I really thought about it and realized it was kind of a fucked up situation. So I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. And let me just say, I know I'm a stupid bitch. Please don't tell me that. I don't think my heart can take it. I know I made mistakes and I got myself into this situation. Trust me, I know. And I pay for it every day by remembering. So at the ages of like 16 to till I met my current boyfriend, about 3 years ago, I was set on finding a sugar daddy. Like, legitimately, that was my goal. That was part of my life plan, was to find someone that could take care of me. And I still always wanted to work, and I want to be a very successful businesswoman. But I want an old man that can take care of me. I don't know why. There's just something very sexy about that I thought. And now, unfortunately, my boyfriend, well, is a little old, but he's not rich. So, unfortunately, I grew weak and fell for love instead. But, I think that was probably for the best. But past Kate was an idiot. So my second job, I worked at a little family restaurant for about 2 years, and I will need to dive into it another time. It was a crazy place. There were prohibition tunnels in the basement, definitely was haunted, and a lot of interesting men worked there that I had interesting interactions with. It was an upper scale restaurant, so the businessmen that would stay there were definitely my type, and probably led to some not so great decisions on my end. But anyway, I'm just telling you what an awful person I am. But, day to day, I feel very normal, very calm, go with the flow, reply to all my emails kind of person. There's nothing I can say to justify my behavior, but that's fine. So anyway, this was probably about a year after I started working there. Felt pretty comfortable. my first serving job, which serving, I could never do it again. It was insanely difficult, frustrating, overwhelming. Real life Diner Dash is not as fun as you think, but sorry, I'm trying to put off, I think, going into the story, because as much as I'm joking around it does bother me now that I'm older and looking back. But anyway, this new guy started, and he was pretty cute, and he was a little bit older. He had an accent. He's very quiet, but that kind of drew me towards him. I wanted to find out more about him. So the first time we actually saw each other, he was in the kitchen, because he worked in a kitchen at the restaurant. He was peeling potatoes, and he immediately dropped the potato and introduced himself to me and tried to shake my hand, but I didn't want his potato fingers on me. So it was awkward, but it was endearing. And so kind of after that moment, we definitely took an interest in each other. We hung out after work and ate food and just talked a lot about each other, our lives, and we started texting every day, and I was always so excited to see him at work. But one thing that I thought was, I don't know how to say this in a way that won't sound I don't want to say politically correct. I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this. But he was a Syrian refugee, and I do feel like I definitely pitied him because of that, and hearing how he left his family behind to come here, that made me really feel for him. And he missed his siblings a lot, and I have a few siblings, and so we kind of connected on that, and he wanted to learn more about my family and connect to them because he didn't have anyone, and he was pretty new here. He didn't know the city, so I feel like I almost took him under my wing in a way, and, kind of introduced him to my normal life, and I think that meant a lot to him, and it meant a lot to me too at the time. But he would occasionally say things that made me uncomfortable, and I kind of just chalked it up to the cultural differences. Like when we would eat, even if we ordered the same thing, he would be like, are you really going to eat all that? I'm like, hell yeah, I am. What do you mean? I'm definitely more strong and confident than I was then, but I swear I will never let another man say that to me again. But, previous Kate just didn't really care and wanted to be a pretty little lady, and, well, look where that got her. But, yeah, I don't know. I felt pretty comfortable with him. I felt like we were friends. I cared about him. And I trusted him a lot. But one night, it was a little bit later, maybe like 9 or 10, he asked me if I wanted to come over, which kind of sounds like a booty call, which, I wasn't mad about at the time. Sometimes you just want to get a little, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But one thing I definitely want to say is, when you are seeing a boy going on a date or something, if you are not driving or do not have a car, please make sure that someone knows where you are, because I couldn't drive and I didn't have a car, and so that definitely terrified me, because I didn't get my car till later when I could afford one. But I went over to his apartment and we started drinking a little bit, just like beer, and I think he made me a mixed drink. I don't even remember what it was at this point, but we definitely got a little bit tipsy and we started kissing, and girl, it was awful. It was like kissing a wall. Like, I mean, I'm all for teaching someone how to kiss, but it was terrible. Absolutely terrible. And that really turned me off. You ever have a kiss so bad you're just done? um, so I very politely said, I think we've had a little bit too much to drink. I think I'm just gonna go lay on the couch and try to sober up. And he didn't like that. Sorry, I'm like trying to make it funny, but it's actually not funny. But he didn't like that. He got mad about it and tried to keep kissing me still, and I told him I wasn't interested. And he then asked me if he could take pictures of my body, which, first of all, what kind of segue is that? What do you mean? No? Just for your spank bank? I don't understand. So, he's still acting a little bit playful at this point, trying to gesture to, like, take my shirt off and stuff, and grabbing it at the end, but I told him no, I didn't want to take photos of my body or anything. I didn't feel comfortable. I really wanted to go home. He was like, well, I picked you up and drove you, and I don't want to drive. I'm drunk. And I was such an idiot, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to wait out here then till you can take me home. And he went back into his room, and I was in the living room, and he started crying that, he was just upset that I didn't want to be with him and all this stuff. And I think that sadness turned into anger very quickly. I felt very uncomfortable, so I actually decided that I was gonna go outside, and I didn't have a solid plan, but I just thought I'd call my friend, see if she'd pick me up, or fuck it, I'm just gonna walk 5 miles home so I don't have to deal with this. But as I kind of tried to get out of the door, he stood in front of it and told me that I wasn't gonna go anywhere, and I needed to stay there with him until he wasn't sad anymore, and I made him feel better. And that was probably one of the most terrifying moments of my life, because this guy that I trusted, and I feel like I let him into my family, and I gave him parts of myself through our friendship and stuff, was like hurting me like this, and it scared me. But I also wanted it to just go back to that person that I thought he was, and the person that I spent time with before. And I kind of begged him. I'm like, no, please. I just feel so uncomfortable, and I don't know what's going on, but I need to leave. He kind of told me again, no. And at that point, he had grabbed my hand and told me that I'm going to stay there till he feels better. So he brought me over to the couch, and he sat there, and he cried and cried and cried. And he said, sorry, like, I was so sorry for scaring you and hurting you, and I want to take you home now. And I told him, okay, take me home. And looking back, I should not have let him take me home, because he really could have hurt me or something, but he did end up taking me home. without anything else happening. And then I told my manager at work that something very uncomfortable had happened between us, and I didn't really feel comfortable working with him. And I was pretty close to my manager. He was kind of like a foster grandpa to me. I feel like we both cared about each other. Well, we still do. We talk every once in a while, but I'm not sure what happened, but I never really saw him again after that until my next job was working at a coffee shop, and he came in with his new girlfriend, and it definitely, just seeing him again, I ran into the back and just cried, and I don't know, it was just when there's someone that you trust so much and all of a sudden they turn into someone that you don't recognize. It's terrifying. It's scary. And especially someone that is supposed to be your friend. And I feel so thankful that things didn't get worse. And at the beginning I said technically kidnapped because he wouldn't let me leave his apartment. He made me stay there against my will. But at the time it didn't feel that bad. Talking about it now I sound so stupid, but I just kind of brushed it off and, thought that that's just how guys were, but they're not like that. They're definitely not. Yeah. I think he moved to Canada. I don't know. I don't really keep up on him. Well, I definitely stalked him once or twice just to check in, but not beyond that, really. But yeah, I think that's not really a happy story. It's definitely something that still bothers me to this day, just because it's terrifying. I don't know if I need to explain it. I mean, I'm just so lucky it didn't get worse. You don't really know what someone is capable of, especially in that situation, so I feel very thankful about it. But yeah, that's my story. That's what I wanted to say. It's a Friday, driving home from work. Definitely excited to not have to be around people for a couple of days, so at least I have that going for me. But yeah, I'll check in next week. Maybe I'll tell something a bit more funny or uplifting rather than this one, but I feel like this is a